Communication Skills, Management of Engineering Professionals, MSE 608B, Final Project. Chapter Learning Objectives, to establish a working definition for communication that is encompassing, to understand the conceptual framework behind communication, to acknowledge that communication takes on different forms, to learn the skills in communication in terms of identifying and overcoming barriers, conversing, and building clarity. Working definitional considerations. Communication. It is a process. It involves transmittal or transfer of mental byproducts, information, ideas, feelings, thoughts, etc. It involves units or entities, individuals or groups, sender or receiver. It requires understanding and meaning. It makes use of means to transmit symbols, messages. It involves a multitude of skills and sub-processes, listening and speaking, etc. And its goal is always effectiveness, clear and unambiguous. Shannon's model of communication, said to be the precursor of the modern field of communication, Fowler, reduced communication to a structural concept with basic components that explains how it happens and why it fails. A rather simple abstraction of the communication process, as most models are. In effect, it also considered as a linear framework. Shannon's model of communication. Derivative model. Gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are intermediaries in the communication process who have the ability to decide what messages make it through, what context and time frame by which they make it through. Speaker, gatekeeper, audience. Derivative model. Interactive. The destinations provide feedback based on the messages received so that the sources can adapt their messages in real time. Derivative model, transactional, does away with creators and consumers in the communication process and simply refers to the units involved in it as communicators, since both functions to create and consume messages, Fowler, and within the dynamics of communication, roles often interchange. New model, ecological. Communication takes place in the intersection of four fundamental constructs. Communication between people, creators and consumers, is meditated by messages which are created using language within media, consumed for media, and interpreted using language. Fowler. New model, ecological. New model, encoders and decoders. Communication starts with thoughts. Encoding refers to the process of transferring the information you want to communicate into a form that can be sent and correctly decoded at the other end. Mind tools. Channel is the means by which messages are conveyed. Decoding involves the processing from the end of the destination, as in taking the time to read a message carefully or listen actively to it. Mind tools. New model, encoders and decoders. Nonverbal form of communication. Over 90% of the meaning conveyed in communication can be drawn from nonverbal clues displayed by the communicator. Wortham. Considered as context to communication or the manner by which messages are delivered. Accuracy of nonverbal behaviors are more trustworthy verbal behaviors. Majority of the meaning of the words does not come from the words per se, but from these nonverbal clues. Nonverbal communication speaks loudly. Nonverbal form of communication. Visual nonverbal clues. Body language or signals as in the facial expression, eye movement, posture, and gesture. Tactile, nonverbal clues. Use of touch to impart meaning, as in a handshake, a pat on the back, an arm around the shoulder, a kiss, or a hug. Vocal, nonverbal clues, the intonation of the voice. Use of time, how one views one's status, evident in meetings between staff and bosses. Use of space, the proximity between communicators. Use of image, use of physical appearance to communicate. Written form of communication. The communication process holds true except that the conveyance of the message is done through writing. The source or encoder can deliberately structure messages to make it more attuned to the receivers, while also being able to filter sources of confusion while writing down messages. Verbal form of communication. Most common form of communication cannot be without context, will always be within the confines of context or the paralanguage. More prone to errors and misunderstandings, usually as a face-to-face communication, discussions, speeches, presentations, interpersonal communication, among others. Body language and voice tonality are significant parts of what is being conveyed, have a greater impact than the verbal words per se. Skills in communication, overcoming barriers. Communication skills also involve the ability to identify what disrupts communication and effectively eliminate them. We must recognize that there always will be factors that can make communication less effective. Barriers are dynamic influencers of communication, which is why it is important to remove them at all stages. Mind tools. Identify and eliminate them. Skills in communication, overcoming barriers. Barriers can be identified in clusters: language, culture, background, and beliefs, noise, focus on ourselves, defensiveness, superiority, and ego. Perception. Relationship also influences perception. Preconceptions. Message, environment, avoid smothering information, stress. Skills in communication, conversation, often undermined as a means to communicate effectively. If conversation is set to seek communication, it can be a very potent skill as well. Conversational communication is more relaxed and open. More grounds can be covered in terms of organizational communication and even interpersonal ones. Skills in communication, clarity. Goals and messages must be clear when communicating. Stick to one's point and keep it brief. Take out filter words, unnecessary words, or avoid being repetitive. Communication must be concrete so that the audience can create a clear picture of the message. Communication must be correct and error-free and fit to one's audience. Skills in communication, clarity. Coherence in communication is important because it establishes logic. Points must be connected and relevant to purpose. Tone and flow of words must be consistent. Complete communication must leave your audience equipped with the necessary knowledge. Communication must be friendly, open and honest, no hidden insults or passive-aggressive tones. Keep audience in mind. Message must be in an empathetic voice. Sample case. Long-winding written communication. Hi, Matt. I wanted to touch base with you about the email marketing campaign we kind of sketched out last Thursday. I really think that our target market is definitely going to want to see the company's philanthropic efforts. I think that could make a big impact, and it would stay in their minds longer than a sales pitch. For instance, if we talked about the company's efforts to become sustainable, as well as the charity work we're doing in local schools, then the people that we want to attract are going to remember our message longer. The impact will just be greater. What do you think? Sample case. Concise written communication. Hi, Matt. I wanted to quickly discuss the email marketing campaign that we analyzed last Thursday. Our target market will want to know about the company's philanthropic efforts, especially our goals to become sustainable and help local schools. This would make a far greater impact, and it would stay in their minds longer than a traditional sales pitch. What do you think, Jessica? Thank you.